Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. Things have gotten so bad for Trump Cabinet Secretary Pete Hegseth that even his own friends are now slamming him. On the conservative Newsmax channel, former Fox News legal analyst Andrew Napolitano says Hegseth should be removed from office and prosecuted for war crimes.
And it gives me no pleasure to say what I'm about to say because I worked with Pete Hegseth for 7 or 8 years at Fox News. This is an act of a war crime. Ordering survivors who the law requires be rescued instead to be murdered. There's absolutely no legal basis for it. Everybody along the line who did it, from the Secretary of Defense to the Admiral to the people who actually pulled the trigger, should be prosecuted for a war crime for killing these two people.
Hegseth initially called reports about ordering follow-up attacks on this alleged drug boat September 2nd fake news. Hegseth now admits there were follow-up attacks.
I watched that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting.
How convenient the Secretary of Defense stepped out of the room before war crimes were committed.
A couple of hours later, I learned that that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do. And by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat. He sunk the boat, and eliminated the threat.
You didn't see any survivors, to be clear, after that first strike? You personally?
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded and fire and smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital. This is called the fog of war.
Pete Hegseth first denied that he gave the order, and then the White House said he did give the order, and then the White House said it was in self-defense. Self-defense. You got two people in the ocean clinging to a burning boat to stay alive, and they're going to be killed for self-defense? That doesn't make any sense.
Judge Napolitano is not the only conservative in the media bashing Hegseth and the Trump administration. Columnist George Will wrote a blistering op-ed, read in part on CNN.
Says Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth seems to be a war criminal without a war, an interesting achievement. The killing of the survivors by this moral slum of an administration should nauseate Americans. A nation incapable of shame is dangerous, not least to itself.
In addition to the Trump administration's lack of shame, there is also the lack of following the Constitution. Only Congress has the power to declare war. The Trump administration has not sought congressional approval for the boat strikes in the Caribbean. And if the mission is to eliminate terrorists, there must be a threat to American interests or the U.S. homeland.
Labeled terrorists by the administration, doesn't that indeed indicate that they are?
No. Only if they're engaged in violence can the military kill them. The military can't
But it
legally.
seems violent if they're coming here with drugs that could kill Americans. Is that not so?
Well, they're 1,500 miles from the United States in a speedboat with a 50-mile distance. It's inconceivable it could reach the United States.
When this story emerged, the Washington Post reported Hegseth order and First Caribbean boat strike officials say, kill them all. As two men clung to a stricken burning ship targeted by SEAL Team 6, the Joint Special Operations Commander followed the Defense Secretary's order to leave no survivors. Hegseth initially called the story fake news. Now, he says the follow-up strikes happened because of the Admiral overseeing the mission.
That's the one consistency here, right? That we didn't make that call. We justify it. He all fully within legal bounds, but it was his call. And that's what I'm hearing. I heard from a senator and a member of Congress today, both on House Armed Services, Senate Armed Services Committee, who said that what they read into those comments is a passing of the buck to Admiral Bradley.
Passing the buck, indeed. Here's Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky.
In this sense, it looks to me like they're trying to pin the blame on somebody else and not them. There's a very distinct statement was said on Sunday. Secretary Hegseth said he had no knowledge of this and it did not happen. It was fake news. It didn't happen. And then the next day from the podium at the White House they're saying it did happen. So either he was lying to us on Sunday or he's incompetent and didn't know it had happened. Do we think there's any chance that on Sunday the Secretary of the Defense did not know there had been a second strike?
And keep in mind, these strikes came on September 2nd. Even if Pete Hegseth was out of the room and not aware of the follow-up attacks until hours later, he would have still known back in September that second strike killed men clinging to the burning boat.
The law is clear. If the facts are as have been alleged, that there was a second strike specifically to kill the survivors in the water, that's a stone-cold war crime. It's also murder.
Murder if the men were drug smugglers, a war crime if the administration wants to label the men as enemy combatants. Either way, Pete Hegseth is in deep trouble. And back in September, he bragged about being deeply involved.
I watched it live. We knew exactly who was in that boat. We knew exactly what they were doing, and we knew exactly who they represented. And that was Tren de Aragua, a narco-terrorist organization designated by the United States, trying to poison our country with illicit drugs. I can't disclose precisely how this went down. I can tell you it was precision. It was very well understood exactly what assets would be used in order to achieve the effect.
Legal experts say that whether Pete Hegseth was deeply involved in these strikes and stayed in the room or not doesn't really matter. The chain of command does not change. Here's former Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta.
But the reality is that the responsibility for this strike rests with the Secretary of Defense. He's the one who ordered the strike. He's the one who said everybody should be killed on board. And he is the one who is responsible for issuing that order. So this idea that they're now blaming the admiral or blaming others just doesn't really, it doesn't have any credibility, because in that kind of operation, it's the Secretary of Defense that makes the order.
For his part, Secretary Hegseth is now turning to one of his favorite strategies, and that is to try and blame the media.
This is called the fog of war. This is what you in the press don't understand. You sit in your air-conditioned offices or up on Capitol Hill and you nitpick and you plant fake stories in the Washington Post about kill everybody, phrases on anonymous sources not based in anything.
Not based on anything. We sit in our air-conditioned offices. Hey, Pete, let me tell you, like many of my journalism colleagues, I have reported from war zones, disaster zones, riots, and more. I've been shot at, heard RPGs whistle over my head, and I've seen dead bodies. Many of my colleagues have witnessed and experienced things that are even worse. So on behalf of many of us who have put our lives on the line to report the news, go f*** yourself. Seriously. Pete, your own friends, and now countless Republicans say you are a war criminal. And you know what? You only have yourself to blame. By the way, Attorney General Pam Bondi is now exposing Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to criminal contempt charges.
The Department of Justice has revealed that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem made the final decision not to comply with a federal judge's order. The disclosure comes as Judge James Boasberg seeks to revive criminal contempt proceedings against Trump administration officials who authorized the flights.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Lloyd, who wrote, "How many millions of people were told by judges ignorance of the law is no excuse?" Indeed. I look forward to reading your comments about Pete Hegseth, whose own conservative friends say that Hegseth committed war crimes. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.